What's going on, people? Back again. 12th man's back. New show, new content. And I've got one of my favourites with me, man. DG, Deluded Gooner, back in the house. What are you saying?
Far too kind, man. Likewise, Dan, man. It's always a pleasure, man. As we were saying backstage, man, you always come on my show when I ask you to, so it's only right I return the favor, man. So, yeah, happy to be here. Pleasure to be here, broski.
Love that, man. Love that. Listen, you're one of my favourite content creators. You know that. You say it how it is. And I'm going to talk some Arsenal with you, man. There's a lot of talk in the last few days. It's been a bit of a quiet window, to be fair, because of, well, the Euros, the Copa America and all that. So it's starting to pick up the last few days. Before we get into it, make sure you do me a favor, people. Make sure you are subscribed to Deluded Gooner. All you got to do is click on the title in the video and it'll take you straight to his channel. Make sure you get him up to his next target, which I believe is around 60 or 70k. I can't even keep up.
We're flirting with 61 now, I think, and I'm trying to get to 70 for the end of the year, man. So hopefully, bro.
You will, man. You will. We'll get you there, man. We'll get you there. Make sure that everyone's subscribed if they're not already, man. And do me a favor and hit the like on this one. Subscribe as well. We're literally not even 50 away from 21k. So let's make sure we can get to
Come
that.
on, people. Stop being stingy, man. Hit the subscription button.
Yeah, man. It's like hard, isn't it? Just hitting a button is so hard to get people to
do. So difficult. And you have to tell them to do it or they're not going to do it. Like, it's crazy.
Mad. It is mad. But listen, big up to the chat. Big up to Emerson. Big up to Footy Judge Mo. I hope that you're all subscribed to Footy Judge Mo. If you're not, what the hell are you doing, man? Make sure you get over there and follow Judge Mo as well. Listen, DG, let's talk Arsenal. Before we go into the actual individuals and some of the players we're looking at, some of the outgoings, we're going to talk about all today, right? But why do you think it's been such a slow window and all? Do you blame the Euros, the Copa America, or is it just one of those things?
It's probably a bit of everything, bro. Like, I can't sit here and say that, you know, the Copa America, the Euros, dependent on the targets, because obviously we know we're trying to get Calafiori, but I don't know what else Arsenal are trying to do. Half the players we're linked with, as you know yourself, being linked and actually going for these players are different, but it seems like they're all participating at certain international competitions. So it's got to be a factor. Naturally, as you know yourself, I think as the months go on or the weeks go on in July, things start to snowball and things really start to pick up as everyone starts returning for pre-season. And also, I know people won't want to hear it, and I'm not defending the club or whatever, but I actually don't know what they're doing. For all we know, Edu could be wherever in the country or another country, dotting I's and crossing T's. But it is kind of disappointing, especially, I know you said we're going to get onto it, but the Calafiori stuff, because I wanted to see that done early going to America. And I think in the last 2 years, we kind of got the business done early doors. They were under Mikel Arteta's kind of method of thinking early doors. And, you know, everybody kind of settled. So naturally, I want to see people sign. But that's why I just think it's a mixture of things, if I'm honest with you, bro, man.
Yeah, it is, man. And it's been quiet. I know Man United are starting to make moves, but Liverpool, quiet. City, quiet. Arsenal, fairly quiet. Just starting to have a little few murmurings now. And those murmurings at the moment are starting to become a little bit frustrated by some of the Arsenal fan base. And the player of question, of course, is Calafiori. Now, I can't remember the first time we were actually linked with Calafiori. It was probably 4 weeks ago, bro. Like, real talk. It was mad early. And I thought this one was easy to get done. And I started to get a little bit excited by it, thinking maybe Arsenal were learning. Maybe we're going to go in early. Maybe we're going to wrap this one up. And it still seems to be taking a while, man. What's your thoughts on this one, DG?
I can't lie, cut out, bro. I was just about to text you. What did you say? It kind of froze on my end. I don't know if that was my internet. What did you say?
All right. Sorry, I didn't know if that was me or you. Yeah, this Calafiori thing is taking forever, man. It really is. I can't even remember the first time we were linked with him. Was it about 4 weeks ago?
Well, maybe about 8, mate.
And it's still not
in a minute, still.
Do you know what I'm saying? Fabrizio Romano is kind of retweeting it and he's still hanging on to it. And he's like, I'm going to go quiet on this until there's any movement. And it doesn't seem like there is any movement. I'm going to bring up a tweet in a minute, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it, bro. What's going on here?
Bro, I wish I had an answer for you, man, because it feels like we're so close, but yet so far. Obviously, you know, when the deal's not kind of done, there's a window of opportunities for hijacking and things of that ilk. It seems, again, when you read stuff, it does feel like we're getting closer, because it just seems like there's minuscule amounts. You know, some reports say Basel are owed 50% of a sell-on clause. Bologna aren't necessarily happy with that. Some say they want more money from Arsenal. I kind of think it's a bit of gamesmanship. Now, obviously, I reserve the right to get clipped up and stuff if it doesn't happen, but I actually think it will happen, but it's just a bit of gamesmanship. And obviously, Bologna, I think, are starting their own pre-season preparations now. So is it a case of we're going to ask Calafiori to maybe drag his heels in, ask the club to get it done? I can't blame Bologna, because at the end of the day, where you look at the other leagues and you look at the Premier League, we're flushed with cash in it. So I can't blame them for wanting as much money as possible. But it needs to get done, man. Like, I wish I had a definitive answer, man, but it just seems like we're arguing over pennies, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it does. And we've seen this before, haven't we? Edu did this with Ben White, if you remember. Brighton
Yeah,
saying, yeah, have him, but he's going to be 50 million. And I think we went in with like 38 to start.
Arte as well, dragged it as well.
Partey, another one. Now the release clause as well. It's like, what is happening here? Like, let's just get the deals done. Like, and then we can move on to the next one, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? So let me
Amen.
bring up this from AFC stuff. This has come from, I think it's caught offside. At the moment, this is the latest that I'm seeing from it. From Fabrizio Romano. He is saying, well, it's been Romano a lot, to be fair, but he's saying, I know that Arsenal fans are keen for an update on Calafiori. There are no changes to the situation yet. Arsenal and Bologna are remaining in contact, but there's no agreement over the 50 million euro fee. The issue is that Bologna want guaranteed money, and Arsenal's proposal includes add-ons and structures to get it to 50 million as a potential fee. Despite what's been suggested elsewhere, there's no issue with Basel. They will receive the 50% of the deal, but that's it. Bologna want 50 fixed exactly because they have to give over 20 million to Basel, and this is the point. Let's see if the clubs can reach a breakthrough in talks soon. But for now, there isn't any major development to the report. What do you make of that, DG? Like, they clearly want 50. Why can't we just give them 50, bro?
I mean, there's a lot to digest with what you said, with what you read out there. I think I'm with you. It's like, I hear it. Business is business. If you think a player is worth X amount, you don't want to go over it, great. But I'd imagine, at least based on how our club work, for it to get to this point, you've obviously sold the project to the player, indirectly agreed personal terms, maybe even booked a medical. Just get it over the line, man. Just get it over the line. If we really believe in him that much, and he's 22 and can play left back and centre half, and I'm sure you've probably had a lot of debates about who is going to be in our starting back five. Just get it done, man. It feels like you're so close but so far, because you don't want the player to get angry and probably move on or want to stay or change his mind. You don't want other clubs to kind of sniff and get interested. I know it's not the same, but we saw it with Mikhail Mudryk. So just get it done, Dan, man. Just get it done, bro. Like, we're that close, innit? Like, I would love to know what we've actually offered guaranteed, because I think it said they want 50 million euros guaranteed. So that's about 40 odd million. How much was the initial fee that we've guaranteed them before we talk about the structure? Just get it done, man. We're so close. Just get it done. Just get it done, man.
Do you think it will get done? Like, a lot of people are saying, they're looking at this negatively now, saying, still going to mess this up. Edu deserves like hanging for it. And I'm seeing a lot of over the top stuff. I mean, like, I think it will get done. I don't know about you, bro, but I just don't know when. It's going to be like the negotiation's going to be forever. Do you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be able to put a time on this one, but I do think everything looks so easy. Like, the player wants to come. Arsenal clearly like the player. There is a price set. He's allowed to go. We've just got to meet it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you think this will get done?
I've got no basis of being confident, because obviously, like yourself, we're not with Edu and Arteta, but I am relatively confident that we're going to get this over the line, because we wouldn't be engaged in this level of conversation if it wasn't the case. I know no two signings are the same, but we've worked with them for Tomiyasu or someone before. So I've got confidence that will get done, but like you said there, it's just got to get over the line, and I'm sure, because you do the transfer news videos like myself, it's always next week. Next week is a pivotal week. Next week's an important week in negotiations. So just get it done, man. I hope tomorrow we wake up and it's done, because it means he's still got time to, fly with the boys to America. But yeah, just get it done, man. I've got a degree of confidence, but as long as it's not done, bro, there's an air of doubt, man. But I reckon it'll be over the line, man, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, likewise. Listen, last thing on this deal, man. If he does come in, we've got a very highly rated centre half that people are talking about that can play left back. My two questions to you are: where do you think he will play? And if you believe he's more of a left back, then what does that mean for Jurriën Timber in your eyes?
And this is something I'm always racing with my own mind. I think we've got good problems. I'm sure every Arsenal fan, sorry for triggering your memories, remember the days of Bellerin, Cedric, Mustafi, Socrates, Rob Holding, Callum Chambers, and we were flushed with defenders. They just weren't really good. We've got one of the best defensive sides, just our whole outlook in the Premier League, and now we've got some of the best individuals. Honestly, I just think it's good problems, because obviously Timber's versatile, can play centre half as well as obviously left and right back. Tomiyasu's the same. My challenge would just be make sure Mikel Arteta can't leave you out. Benjamin White, you keep doing what you're doing. Timber, you keep doing what you're doing, and so on and so forth. But to answer your question, it's a tricky one, because obviously Calafiori, we've seen what he's done at Bologna, we've seen what he's done at Italy. It is a bit of shiny new toy syndrome. You want to see a new player. Statistically, he's played more at left back. So I'd probably say left back, but then I wouldn't rule out Timber. I would not rule out Timber, but it's a good question. You know what? I think Timber's still going to play left back. But you never know. He can move. God forbid, Benjamin White can get an injury. Timber could move to the right-hand side. And then, you look at it, Calafiori is naturally left-footed as well, bro. So that kind of helps. I just think it means pressure for places, man. I guess new toy syndrome. I guess Calafiori starting, but I just don't like the way a lot of people are kind of forgetting about Timber, if that makes sense, man. So I'll give it to Calafiori then, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if he's coming in for 40 to 50 million, he's starting at left back. And I've also believed that Timber's got to prove his fitness, because the ACL thing, that ain't easy. And to be out for 8 to 9 months, he looked sharp when he come back, don't get me wrong, against Everton. And I think he's going to impress again, no doubt, in pre-season. But you can't just throw him in and expect to play 40 games with him. So I think Calafiori's there now. Knowing Arteta, he'll probably start Zinchenko, innit? He'll probably confuse us all again and play Zinchenko. So listen, that's the way it's going to be. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing from Timber, but we need to be careful, man, for sure. Let me just touch on a player that might be outgoing, Kivior. Lots of interest over in Serie A, bruv, about where they might take Kivior, and he was £20 million. If we get that back again, would you be selling or would you be looking to keep him? What are you saying, bruv?
It's a techie one, because I remember, and we spoke about this when you came on my platform. I think we've got one of the smallest squads in the Premier League, Mikel Arteta's own admission. And as you know, we want to compete on all fronts. Obviously, the Champions League is a new format. There's more games. So I kind of want to keep hold of players. But then when you look at resale value, and, you know, I'm sure we'll get onto the Smith-Rowes, the Nketiahs, the Nelsons, those Ramsdales, those kind of players. Kyrgios's actually got a market. You look at someone like Zinchenko. Yeah, he was linked with Newcastle and Bayern. It seems like there's legitimate interest in Kyrgios. In fact, since he stepped foot in the Emirates, you know, those links to Italy haven't gone away. So I think he's someone that will probably just be someone that we see as, we don't want to force you out the door, but we've got an upgrade on you. There's a market for you. We'll just allow you to keep it moving. And I almost feel sorry for Kyrgios, because, again, you know, he's not really done that inverted left back in the way Mikel Arteta wanted. You're not really going to get a sustained run of form, let alone if Calafiori comes in, looking at all the options that we've got. You know, I reckon to go back to what you said about Zinchenko, I reckon Zinchenko plays ahead of him. So, and you're not going to get nowhere near Gabriel. So I reckon it's probably best he just moves on. I mean, Arsenal's a sweet gig. You know, I can't see him, you know, go into a club bigger than us necessarily. I know Inter and AC and all these clubs are linked with him. Whether they buy him's another thing. But he needs first team football, man. And for me, it's got to be kind of techie for him, if I'm honest with Kyrgios, because how confident can you be if you're not really starting and you know you're only really in the team because there's been injuries? But yeah, I think it's probably best he moves on, man, really and truly. I think Zinchenko will stay and fight for his place for a year. He's obviously got 2 years left. But then if you look at it, then, like, yeah, he's got a market, but then you could say Kyrgios probably on less wages than Zinchenko. So Zinchenko might be the one they kind of force out. But then at the same time, I think Arteta would bet on Zinchenko before Kyrgios, because I know Zinchenko's got a lot of mistakes, but he does that inverted left-back stuff. He is a serial winner in the Premier League. He might want to fight for his spot again, because obviously he's been in this in City. So it's probably best Kyrgios moves on. It seems like there's more of a market, but as you know, Dan, like, being interested and actually putting bids down and things of that ilk is two very different conversations for clubs to have, man.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you in terms of Zinchenko. I would rather see Zinchenko go and Kivior stay, because I know Kivior can at least defend. I'm not so sure Zinchenko has ever been able to defend, right? And I understand that Arteta likes him in the inverted role, and on the ball, he's actually pretty good. I just don't see a place for him now. I think with Timber, Calafiori, and Tomiyasu that can all play at left back ahead of him, I just don't know how he's going to get any game time, if I'm honest with you. So I think it's time for him to go, and I wouldn't mind Kivior staying as the kind of cover. If Kivior wants to go, that's a different story. If he wants to leave and fight for his if he wants to go and find first team football, that's a different story, and he has to go. But my big question mark still on this defensive thing, man, and nobody agrees with me. I wondered what your thoughts were. Who covers for Saliba? Is it Timber? Is it White? Is it Tomiyasu? Do you know what I'm saying? Because I still don't know who it is. We haven't seen it yet. Like, we're told they could all play there, but Ben White weren't amazing there. Tomiyasu's been okay 1 or 2 games. And then you've got, obviously, Timber, who's never played there for Arsenal. So what happens?
Do you know what? That question threw me. That's a very good question, because it's like you said, like, in theory, a lot of people could play there. I mean, I'm sure at one point in the first half of last season, God forbid it happens again, but we even saw Declan Rice have to play centre half in the game or for some segment in the game. So that's a good question, Dan. Oh, do you know what? If you put a gun to my head, what option would I choose? My bias is to say Benjamin White, but evidently he looks a lot better at right back. Timber can play there, but there's something that doesn't want me to put Timber there, even though he could do it. Do you know what? I'd probably bet on Tomiyasu, you know? Like, if there was a gun to my head, I'd probably bet on Tomiyasu just because I know he hasn't, no disrespect to him, I know he's not as gracious on the ball as Saliba. He hasn't necessarily got great standout attributes, but he's good in the air. He's quite conservative defensively. I'd probably bet on that. But then you could put Timber there, but then you could put Benjamin White centre-half and bring in Timber. I'd lean towards Tomiyasu. If it happened today and I was Mikel Arteta today, God forbid, and something happened to Saliba, I'd probably put Tomiyasu centre-half versus the others, man. But like that comment says here, Timber has played centre-half with Lisandro Martinez, so you could say him, but I just think Tommy, man. I just think he's probably the best out of the lot in the air and whatnot. Yeah, I'd just go for Tommy, man, for today.
In terms of attributes, Tomiyasu is probably the best, man, because Tomiyasu is brilliant one-on-one defending. I think aerially he's by far the best. I actually believe when he's played there, whenever I've seen him there, I've actually looked and thought, wow, you're one of our better players this game. Ben White, he was all right next to Gabriel. He was pretty good. He wasn't outstanding. He's definitely a right back and not a centre back. I have never seen Timber play there. Even for Ajax, I didn't see enough of him there. So people are saying he can play there and that's the guy that we go for, then fair play. But when we were linked with Mark Gahey, I had Curtis on and we were both saying that we would probably be more than happy or welcoming of somebody like that to come in. The problem you've got is he going to want to come in? You know, he's going to be a lot of money. And is he going to want to come in and just sit on the bench? Probably not. So I think Calafiori will be the only one that we sign. I don't see us getting any more defenders. And I just wanted to get your last thoughts on that, man, and see if you agree.
Yeah, man. I don't think we'll get another defender, man. I think you've got a couple versatile players there, as you said. I think if we get another one, there's just not enough spaces, man, if I'm honest with you. So yeah, man, I think that's the depth to the centre half stuff. I don't think we'll move for a centre half unless, God forbid, Saliba or Gabriel, they've got other plans at other clubs, man. So yeah, it's a difficult conversation, man. That's a good question. Like, I'm actually still pondering it. Now I'll bet on Tommy for now.
It's one that's hard because I've always said about who comes in for Saliba then, and no one says one player. They go, well, Ben White, and someone else over here will go, no, it's Tommy. Someone else will go,
yeah, there's not a definitive kind of option.
We've just got players that might play there and can play there.
Exactly.
So, you know what I'm saying? So at least everyone knows who's covering who in the other positions. So that's where I'm at, man. But listen, let's move away from the defense. There's no point touching on the goalkeeper thing. Just quickly, I don't want to go into it too much. Do you see Ramsdale leaving and there being a replacement? I mean, there's one Garcia mentioned. We see Dan Bentley and obviously Tommy Setford, who looks like he's coming in. I believe that will be third choice. Do you understand what's going on there? Is it a bit confusing to you, bro?
Well, it's confusing. It's not confusing, but it's confusing in that, you know, I think everybody expected, you know, us to side a couple of goalies. Ramsdale leaves, you need a number 2, probably need a number 3 option, and Raya, technically made permanent. Ramsdale can't afford to have another season on the bench, innit? I hope he stays. I hope he's still of that thought of maybe I can wrestle my place back from David Raya, but it's probably best he either leaves on loan or a permanent one. And he's got a lot to consider, man. It's probably with a heavy heart, really. But yeah, I think Ramsdale's it's over now, isn't it? Really, like it's got to be, surely.
I think so, and I like him. We'll always remember him fondly. But if we get a team that offers between 30 and maybe even more, we've got to let him go.
You've got to let him go
somewhere else. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't really know where he's going. I don't know if it's Bournemouth, Southampton, Wolves, Fulham, Brentford, West Ham. I've got no idea. But
he's linked with a new club every day, man.
Exactly. I imagine it will be that level, Deluded. I don't think he's going to be going to Chelsea or Newcastle now. I think he's going to have to go a little bit lower division than that. Southampton were linked the other day. Do you know what I'm saying? So he might have to go and try and revive his career with one of those clubs and see how he gets on. So yeah, I expect us to get a backup goalkeeper and then move with Raya as number 1. But I wanted to talk to you about the midfield position because this for me is the priority area. And you and I have spoken about this for a while now, talking about why it should be a priority area. I think there's 2 decisions before anything happens. We need to decide what Declan Rice is, either a 6 or an 8. And we need to look at what's happening with Thomas Partey. And at the moment, it looks like Thomas Partey might actually stay with Arsenal. Now, there's a rumor today, I'll share this, which has come from James Benge and Charles Watts, talking a little bit about it. Now, I don't know if you think this is good news or bad news as an Arsenal fan. I happen to think Thomas Partey staying is not a bad thing at all. But from what I understand about Thomas Partey's situation, he intends to stay for the final year of his contract. Everyone's talking about Saudi Arabia. There's been no conversations so far and no offers from any Saudi clubs. That's come from Charles Watts and James Benge. Now, I must say, unless Thomas Partey, someone is coming in with 30, 40 million pounds, I'm just keeping him, DG, because you wrap him in cotton wool and you say you've got 15, 20 games this season. We go and get the midfield sorted, and then he becomes part of your squad as opposed to being relied upon every week. What are you saying, bro?
Bro, as that comment says, I've been on about midfield for years. Like Mikel Arteta and Edu, you were midfielders, and like with the greatest of respect to Thomas Partey, I love him. I think he provides a different dynamic. I think between Timber's injury and Thomas Partey, we were robbed of maybe what we could have seen last season even more, especially Rice and Partey. Clearly, Partey's highly rated in the club because he played the majority of the big games towards the running. But as you said there, you've got to wrap the guy in cotton wool. And how much money are we really going to get for Thomas Partey? Because he's got a year left on his deal. Foreign clubs probably just going to sit there and say, do you know what? If you give us a decent offer, Arsenal, we'll take him off your hands, or we'll just wait 6 months and negotiate a free transfer. Maybe even Partey doesn't want to do anything. He wants to run down his deal and then keep it moving from there. But it's like what you said there. I'm not against keeping Thomas Partey. I think he brings something. But you said it there. We need to bring in another midfielder. I love what Jorginho brings to the table. I think he's been a better signing than some of his critics made out at the beginning. But obviously, I just don't think he's a long-term option. And I think when the games are kind of like the NBA style, high transitions and that, he struggles. You saw what happened in the North London derby when Declan Rice came off, and you saw Chelsea away. So if we bring in another central midfielder, I am cool. I'm not really happy with our core central midfield options with Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, and obviously Jorginho, because I only believe Declan Rice is going to be the one that's fully fit. But it's like what you was alluding to. It's like, what are we going to do with Declan Rice? Is he going to be a 6 that's able to play as an 8? Are we going to persist with him being an 8 and then you bring in another 6? I don't know. But what I do know is, bro, we need another midfielder. For me, I'm not really confident about us doing anything beyond, it's not just centre mid, but I'm not confident about winning stuff if we don't get a central midfielder. Like, I know games are won and lost in the defensive and final third, but it's the central midfield battle. And I don't want to hear this. There's none on the market. There's no value. There's this, that, the third. We've known for about 20 million years central midfield needs to be addressed. So, yeah, we need someone, man. And they don't even necessarily have to be better. Obviously, I want players that are better than what we have. But if we have someone that's competent and consistent, I'm cool with that. Like the Moreno links with the Sociedad guy is playing for Spain. I don't think he's amazing, but when you look at him, he's decent in the air. He's a competent passer. He's fully ever fit. I'm cool with that. If you keep Partey, you've got that as well as Declan Rice. I think we can maneuver with that, because I genuinely feel with Odegaard, with Declan Rice, you've got 2 pieces to a 3-man puzzle. And we're selling ourselves short if we don't bring that in, man, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, in the chat, they're saying Jorginho and Partey, they're both out of contract at the same time, end of this season,
Exactly.
and we're going to have Declan Rice left as things stand. So we need to do something and move this summer, man. And once we decide what Declan Rice is, I believe he wants to play him in the 8, which means that Partey is fine as the 6, but we might need to bring a 6 in that is definitely going to be the reliable one, so that Rice is allowed to play the 8, and then potentially bring in somebody like Mikel Merino who can play that 8 to back up for Declan Rice. So we're linked with Merino. There's not been any other leaks really, though, DG, in relation to Bruno or De Jong or Joshua Kimmich. It's all gone very quiet in that position.
Quiet with the midfielders, man.
Very, man. Very. Like, what do you see happening here, bro? Like, what do you think we need and what do you think we'll get?
Like you said there, like it all depends what we're doing with Declan Rice, if I'm completely honest with you. If you're asking me, I would naturally prefer a more 8. I would prefer an 8 that, I know they're not on the market, and I ain't got no names, but if you could find that Cesc Fabregas, that Santi Cazorla, that tempo controller, that's someone who can, be the link. I think Declan Rice goes back into his 6 role, and I think Odegaard, Saka and everyone else is going to thrive. So that would be my initial bias. And then I always look at someone like Douglas Luiz, who's obviously gone to Juventus, just off the basis of he can play as an 8 and a 6. Now, if you've got Declan Rice who's played as an 8 and a 6, cool. You've got 2 multifunctional midfielders in the squad. Arteta, do what you want. If you want to play 2 8s or 2 6s, do what you want. Fabian Ruiz could be another one. Obviously, did well at the Euros. Seems like that Fofana guy, that's a myth, because he's from what Romano was talking about AC Milan. Onana seems to be going Villa. I'd prefer an 8, but I'd be cool with a 6. I just need another midfielder that I look at with Odegaard and Rice, and I'm like, yeah, because God forbid, if we never had that Declan Rice, what conversations are me and you having, based on last season? If Declan Rice weren't there, we're in issues, serious issues. And then I have no doubt Arteta wants to mold Declan Rice into a complete midfielder. But then, being devil's advocate, is he playing as an 8 because Mikel Arteta wants him to do that? Or is it because other people couldn't stay fit? Declan Rice has the capabilities. We couldn't bring in a midfielder. And this is kind of a short-term fix, or just a fix for now. I don't know, man. But I'd rather the 8 if you ask me, man.
Yeah, listen, fair play. I think we need a 6 and an 8. And
we need both, yeah.
If we was to go and get Joshua Kimmich and Mikel Merino, I'll be cool with that. Like, it wouldn't set the world alight for me to go, wow. But if you're keeping Partey and you've got Rice there, that's a good midfield. Do you know what I'm saying? So
better than
I
most,
think we've got,
really.
strength in depth there as well. So that's all good. But I think we need to look at it as an order of kind of priority for me, because it ain't looking too good for the future in midfield when you've just got Rice there. Do you know what I'm saying? Listen, I
Right.
know Odegaard's in there as well, but I'm talking about the kind of 6 and 8s here. We've got the attacking
The
minded
partnership
players.
behind Odegaard.
Yeah, we do. And we know part of the Odegaard stay and we know Rice is there, but we need to have a little bit more reliability than just Partey and Jorginho in the 6. So I think that's where we need to be looking at personally. I wanted to touch on the players that might be leaving. One of those in those positions are Emil Smith-Rowe. My two questions to you are, do you want to sell him, and what's the right price, DG? Because Fulham are very interested, apparently.
Of course, I don't want to sell him. You know me, I'm very biased to Emil Smith-Rowe. Love the guy. You know, obviously, bias can rob you of logic. Probably best he moves on, in it. Like, I would back him. I'd want to keep him. I think he's a good squad player. But at the end of the day, the amount of minutes you've played in the last 2 years, the amount of minutes you played last season, how marginalized where you was, probably do need to move on. And I understand it's difficult. You're wearing our number 10. You had that great breakthrough season. You've been here since probably 8 years of age, been a young boy, a teenager, a grown man. And now it feels like you have to divorce. For Fulham, I think that's a good platform. You're playing under Marco Silva. Maybe they won't take 4 points off us next season if we sell him over there. I think he needs to do it, bro. I think he needs to do it. And in terms of a price, it's difficult because he's got 2 years left as well. And I could be wrong. And being linked with people in the papers are different. But I'm sure in January, we was rejecting £45 million bids. If you bring me 30 odd million and a sell-on clause, or 30 plus million, I'll accept that. But push it all the way, man. But I think what weakens us is the man's stock has fallen through injuries, through, him stagnating while we've been going and doing what we're doing in 2 years left. But I think I'll do something for 30 plus million. I'll try and push it towards the 40s, 30 plus and a sell-on clause. I'm here for that, but I wouldn't sell him, man. I'd love him to stay. But
yeah, I'm a big fan of him, and if he stays fit, I think we've got a player, and I think Fulham will have a player. But that is the big question mark, man. For the past 18 months, 12 months, he ain't been able to stay fit.
When did he last score for us, man?
Exactly. I mean, to be fair to him, the last couple of games that he played, I think Luton and the Everton game at the Emirates, he looked really sharp and he looked great. So I'm sure that he will have, if he stays fit, a really good season at Fulham. But I'm going to push it to 40, man. They've said they could go up to 40 million. Well, that's what they're going to have to get up to then.
Well, yeah, if they can do that, then it's about time. Because if we were trying to buy Smith-Rowe, we both know what we're going to have to pay. So,
100%.
Yeah. Get top money.
You look at that Elliot Anderson, brother, from Newcastle, who went to Forest for 35 million.
Yeah. Smith-Rowe can go for a lot more.
So, do you know what I mean? Like, we should be touching towards 40, 45 million.
Yeah. On that, you're right, man. Let's get to the 40s, man. Let's get to the 40s.
That's the way that I see it, man. Listen, big up to absolute legend in the chat for the super chat, man. Big up to Max. You're an absolute hero, my guy. Says, hi, Dan and DG. We need an 8 and a 6. We need another winger and a striker. And we need to move on from players like Smith-Rowe and Eddie and the like. This is the most important transfer window to close the distance on City. This transfer window is massive. If I'm honest with you, I agree with everything Max has said. And I think that we've mentioned the 6 and the 8. I think a winger and a striker, we're going to come on to that next. But I think for me, when we look at it, like, selling players is something that Arsenal have never been good at, DG, right? I mean, you look at how bad it has been. I mean, when Iwobi and Oxlade-Chamberlain and Willock are like the ones you've done well to sell.
And Balogun as well, and that's about it.
Yeah. And it's like, you have to go back as far as Anelka or Overmars. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how bad it's been. We're giving players away, bruv. So surely we can get some decent money for Smith-Rowe, Nelson, and Eddie and Nketiah. I mean, they're free Howland boys. I don't think either of them are going to get a first-team opportunity this season. Maybe Smith-Rowe, but he's the only one. I think Reece Nelson is being linked with a move away to West Ham. And Eddie and Nketiah, there was links away to Marseille, but also to some Premier League sides. Like, what sort of price do you think we could get for these two? Would you be happy to sell them?
I mean, Reece Nelson it's a techie one, because if I'm Nelson, I'm pushing to move, and I'm sure you've covered it a few months ago. But yeah, David Ornstein and The Athletic were saying he signaled his intentions to go. I think with Nelson, it's a case of, are we going to let you go without bringing in another winger because you're a body? But go and get him gone, man. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not saying Arteta doesn't rate you, but the minute everybody's fit, you're not on the bench. You haven't been given that many minutes. And at 24 years of age, is your career where you wanted it to be? So for Nelson, you need to go. You're seeing as high as 20 odd million. I would like to push that to a little bit more, but Nelson can't really buy first team football. If you do that, then I'm cool with that. For Eddie and Nketiah, I think the 30 odd million range is just about all right, really and truly, man. I know he's not the bee's knees, but strikers do peak late. He is quite young. He has been capped by the country. He has led the line for this football club for time on occasions. So yeah, man, let's just try and get 30 plus million a pop on these players and keep it moving from there, man, and reinvest that. I think there's super chats bang on the money, man.
Yeah, it is, man. Big up to Max, absolute legend. I much appreciate that, bro. And make sure people you've hit the like on the video. We're not hit to 100 likes yet. That's what we need to get. Make
That's
sure we get
poor
to
people. Come
100.
on, man. If you don't get to 100 likes, we're not signing no one. Hit the like button.
That absolutely. You're moving about as fast as Edu. So come on, man. Let's
Nah,
hit
they're
that
slower
like
than
button.
him. At least we've signed Raya permanently. The chat's moving
Yeah,
slower.
that's at least some business we've done, bruv. Yeah, at least we've got something done. But that's the way it is. Big up to Aaron, man. Absolutely love for that. And listen, I've got to talk to you a little bit about the wide areas, because a lot of people are saying that Nelson's looking like he's going to go. We're going to bring a wide player in. Talks of Eze. There was talks previously of Pedro Neto. A lot of people are saying that Bayern Munich go and get one of their guys. They're looking to sell Sane or Coman or Nabry. But Nico Williams is the one everyone's talking about, bruv. And his £49 million release clause. I think he's got his heart set on staying in Spain, Barcelona being mentioned, but they're saying they can't afford him yet because they're going to have to sell. So then, of course, that links us back with Rafinha. Like, where do you see with this wide player? Who do you want? And do you think Nico Williams is a realistic target for Arsenal, bruv?
It's a madness, man. Like, we're linked with several kind of names, man. It's gone from the Belgium lad in Bakayoko and the development kind of signings. I thought that would be an avenue for Arsenal to kind of explore. I mean, who couldn't want Nico Williams? Who wouldn't want Nico Williams? He's enhanced his reputation. You know, going into the tournament, we heard wages are the biggest issues. Not that I'm pocket watching, but he's putting in 200 grand a week performances, so bring him to the carpet. Like, probably the player of the tournament, give or take, with his fellow countryman in Yalmao. If there is an angle of opportunity to get him, and you know there's some indecision making at Barca, as you said, and I agree, it feels like Barcelona have been on the offensive. He's playing with the Barca players in the Euros. I think they're kind of in the front seat. If you could bring me a Nico Williams, I'm all for that. Pedro Neto, dependent on the price, because unfortunately, as good as he is, he gets injured a lot. I'm all for that. Who else is there? I wouldn't mind the Bakayoko lad from PSV, that going back to Kirio, a new one when we played them in the champs. That's the angles I'm going down, man. Really, I'm not against the Bayern Munich ones, but it's like, would Sane, Gnabry, or Kingsley Coman really make us better? Because Gnabry's got injury issues, Sane's got injury issues. I like the illusion of Sane, but would it be the reality? Just get me a winger, man, because I've given up on the striker. I think everybody in the chat would love to see a striker in the winger. I've given up on the striker. It doesn't seem like Arsenal are convinced with anyone at the market, but I think we need another attacker, man. Rafinha is a bit of a technical one because obviously he's probably better off the right-hand side. You're not going to play if Saka isn't there. You're only going to play if Saka isn't there, so that's probably a myth. Nico Williams has shown he can perform on the left and the right like Pedro Neto. So if we could get it done, get it done. But do you really see us spending, you know, when you look at Leao's and Rashford's and all of these guys, do you really see us spending the fees that these players will probably come with? I'm not too sure, man. And then you look at someone like Sane, who's contracted until 2025. Is there legs to the room, or is it that stuff they do when your contract is running down and people are being creative? I'm not sure, man. But we need a winger. We definitely need a winger. 100%. We don't get another attacker, we can forget about winning anything. And I know people will say we got 91 goals in the Prem, 100 on in all comps, which is true. You know, we could do that. But if I was to ask you lot, who is going to score the goals next season? Nobody can answer apart from Bukayo Saka. This isn't me dissing the players. We've got great players. But in the last 2 years, Bukayo Saka's been the only consistent one. And if we keep up this trajectory, and we become what we want to be, Premier League winners, Champions League winners, in that front three right now, who is the only one that you could really see being part of that? It's Bukayo Saka. There's question marks on the left. There's question marks up front. So we need another attacker, broski. So bring me a Pedro Neto or Nico Williams or someone of that ilk. If not, a Bakayoko, a kind of rough diamond for Arteta to work his magic. But we have to get someone, man. We can't not get a winger and a striker. We're in problems if we don't, man, in my opinion.
Listen, I'm right with you, man. We need to. A lot of people are saying we need both. We definitely need one.
Definitely.
I wanted to ask you about one player though, because there's one player I like, and I think it's an absolute no-brainer. For me, he's got a release clause from what we hear. I don't think that they want to sell him, but if we activate the release clause, they won't have a choice as long as he wants to come. He plays in an unbelievable amount of positions. Eze, bruv. Like,
get it done tomorrow, bro.
I'm saying he's a
tomorrow.
baller. He can play right
tomorrow.
left, centre. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it would be a very good signing for Arsenal. He was with us, remember, when we let him go at 12 years old in the youth academy. And I just look at his positioning and think, yeah, you could play in the 8, you could play in the 10 if Erdegaard got a knock, you could play on the right wing to cover for Saka.
English as well.
You could play on the left. So I think this would be an absolute no-brainer, bruv.
Put the money down. If it was up to me, I'm with you with that. Eze is a player that we'd all love. He's a strong ball carrier as well. He's getting better. What is he, like 24, 25, 26? So he's hitting the peak ages. put the money down and get him. But then, you know, I swear when it comes to the release clauses, you've got to pay in full. And you know, our club, we like to tailor deals in certain ways. So I'm not too sure. And then you look at Palace, you've just lost Elise. You might probably lose Gurhi. Do you really want to lose Eze as well? Not that that's anything to do with us. Get it done, man. If I could get it done, man. But yeah, I'm with you, man. If we could get Eze, I definitely would not be upset with that at all.
Yeah, facts. Absolute facts. I can't let you go without talking about a centre forward, bruv. I know you mentioned that we might not get one. Judges is exactly the same as you. I spoke to Miguel. He's exactly the same as you. Not a lot of people think we're going to get a striker in this summer window. So I've got 2 questions for you, bruv. The first one I'm going to ask you is it an issue if we do not get a striker and we stick with Havertz and Jesus and Trossard, of course, that can play there?
Is it an issue? Yes and no. I don't think it's an issue because we've scored 91 goals. We've shown that we can keep it moving in that regards, and we've shown we can share goals about. And there's a lot of ifs. If Gabriel Jesus can get back to full fitness, if Kai Havertz can keep doing what he's doing, as well as all the other players, we're great. But that's where my issue is, in the sense of there has been some times where, and we could get a striker and not do what I'm about to say, but you look at the December period. If we just got, 4 to 6 points, me and you are having very different conversations. We're probably still celebrating a trophy parade. I think when it comes down to it, stuff like that, the fine margins that are going to make the world of a difference, that's where we need a forward, bro. There's been games where we haven't killed teams. And I think kind of deviating away from the striker, where you look at the Champions League against Bayern, we need players with stardust, whether they're not to say we ain't got that, but whether they're wingers or strikers, players that can just make moments. You look at the 2 legs against Bayern, more so at the Emirates, we're probably better than them. We were all levels at least. It's just they've got those players of a certain caliber that makes the difference. So I think we need a striker. I think we over-exaggerate the need for a striker because we got 91 goals, but it's a bit mad in the sense of we don't know. As I said, going back to the what I said earlier, like who is going to score these goals? It's great that we got 91 goals, but who is going to? We know we're going to score goals next season, but who is going to get them? So for me, if you could bring a striker, but then I'm sure you've said this as well, when you look at the striker market, and I don't want to say this as an excuse because you still have to get things done, but who really is there? All right, the Sesko thing didn't happen. Osimhen, it seems like he's overpriced. Gyökeres, I'm not too sure where we're at with that. Dezertsky guy, he's a great player, but he's not prolific. He's got Man United. I don't want to go back around the Jonathan Davids and people of that ilk. So it's like, do we do what Arsenal used to do of sign players for no reason or just move away? That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm prepared to sit here and say, if you can't get a striker, get me a winger in it. But if it was up to me, we get a striker tomorrow, man. I just don't think we're going to do it. Man.
Do you know what, right? The only way I will accept Arsenal not buying a striker this window is if we go all out for Alexander-Arnold the following summer. I'll be happy.
I'm with all of that. If you could go out and do something like that, great.
Yeah, because if you don't believe there is a striker that you believe right now is going to take you to that next level, then don't just waste money. I disagree. I think there is. I think Tony, I think Osimhen, I think Gyökeres.
Even Tony, but they don't seem convinced on Tony, man. I don't be against Tony.
I wouldn't be against Tony whatsoever, especially if he's 40 or 50. Do you know what I mean?
You saw his impact off the bench, Ollie Watkins as well, but like we're not going to put down the bread required for these guys, bro.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. If we go and get a winger, and we go and get the other positions that we need, and we don't buy a striker, and everyone's like, what we're not doing? But then we go, boom, Isak, 100 million, 120 million next summer. I can kind of understand that. But if we just don't think we need one, and we're going to stick with Havertz again, who, let's be real, deserves credit for what he did last season at the back end of it, but misses chances. Jesus misses chances. There's nobody that you would have one-on-one other than maybe Trossard that I would put my money on him scoring. Like Havertz, there's always a chance he's going to miss. And we see it in Germany as well. Jesus does it for club and country. He misses. He's not as clinical as you need him to be. Great footballers. Havertz is a great footballer, but they're not killers in a box. And I think that's what we need. And if we got an Osimhen, he'd be a killer. If we got Tony, he'd be a killer. Gyökeres looks like a baller, looks like a killer. We don't do anything there. That is a risk. But if we're going to go and get Isak and he slots in the following summer, fair play. But unless it's that, bro, I think we could be leaving ourselves short. And I know we score goals. I get it. But it wasn't enough last season in the killer games because when we were playing Liverpool in the FA Cup, we needed a killer. We had about 28 shots in that game, right?
Yeah.
West Ham, likewise, we lost that game in the Emirates. We should have beaten them with a
killer. First half against Aston Villa as well, man. And in fact, both games against Aston Villa full stop. Newcastle the same. You're right.
Brother, like Bayern Munich as well. Like not having that killer was something that I think would have taken us across the line. And if we don't do that, the rivals will be laughing. They'll be saying Arsenal look the same up top. Now, let them laugh because we scored loads of goals, right? But at the same time, they might have a point that there will still be times where we're scoring, and then we're missing. And you think, where is
100%.
that number 9? Do you know what I'm saying? So I hope that doesn't come back to bite us in the backside. If, of course, we don't get one, we could still go out and get one. We don't know what Edu and Arteta are really thinking at the moment. They're still trying to get this defender over the line, Calafiori. There's links with Mikel Merino. But other than that, I don't really see any major rumours, DG. And I wanted to kind of allow, this might put you on the spot a bit because it did me when I got asked it. But if there was someone that you looked at and thought, you know what, someone out there that you haven't really been spoken about yet, that you thought, you know what, I'd be really interested in Arsenal going in for someone like that. Maybe it's someone that has been spoken about. Maybe it's someone that hasn't been. But a player that you would go, do you know what, that's excited me. That's lifted me. Like, who is that? And what would that look like realistically right now? Because we ain't going to be able to go and get a Kylian Mbappe or a Haaland, right? I'm not saying that. But there might be a player out there you think, is available, go and do it, and that will take us next level. Like, what does that look like for you, bro?
Do you know what? It would actually be, and a lot of people aren't going to be happy with this, but it'd probably be a player that we was linked with many Januaries ago and he went to Juventus. I'll just see what we could do around Vlahovic because, again, time can change, but we all know we bidded for him. So Arteta we only bid, I mean, everyone can say this, but we only bid for players that we genuinely are convinced about. So whatever Arteta was convinced then, he must still kind of hold them beliefs. And you hear Juventus are struggling financially and things like that. That's an angle to go down. That's where I'd go with up front. If it was an essential midfielder, he didn't play in the Euros because he was injured. But I would like Koopmeiners, if I'm honest with you. I just think he's everything Mikel Arteta wants in essential midfielder, but he's flirting with Juventus. So they'd probably be the two, you know. That you put me on the spot. That's two good questions. Who else? I wouldn't mind Julian Alvarez, but I'm not even going to entertain that one. I just see the rumors that he's linked with moves away from City, and I just wonder, can Arteta call his phone and see what could go on there? Yeah, I think that'd be it. You know, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, it was asked in the chat the other day. Me and Judges were together, and I threw Leroy Sané into the mix because I feel like that could be someone that Arteta knows well, worked with before, can play.
Got a year on his deal as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I would like to see something happen there. I've always been a fan of him, and I've always believed that he's not quite hit what I thought was going to be one of the best in the world in his position. But maybe there's a reason that he hasn't done that. But that would be one that would interest me. But the other one that would, man, is Nico Williams, man. The guy just lit the tournament up, and I thought, yeah, if you could get him, a rival fan,
laughing, man.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. So that's where I'll be going with it, man. But we'll see what happens, bro. Listen, I wanted to ask you as a closing question because we do need to wrap up now. Thoughts going into the season for Arsenal, where you're at? Because a lot of people will say, well, we've got to win something or he gets sacked. I wanted to ask you where you're at with that, because I think that it's very extreme to talk about that yet before a ball's kicked. I'll say that. I also believe that we haven't have a clue what's going on in the transfer window yet, that we've just been discussing for the best part of an hour. But where are you at going into this new season with Arsenal? We obviously want to start well. We believe that we were so close, in the last 2 seasons, to be fair. With a good window, do you have confidence we can get across the line this year, DG?
I'm certainly a lot more confident, but it's like the only unfortunate thing is we know who we're up against. You got Pep Guardiola's Manchester City trying to do a 5th Pete. We hear it's his last season, and it's almost an impossible job in that. Don't get it twisted. I think in the last 2 years, we didn't win this. Obviously, we didn't win the league title because of City. They were better than us. They were top of the table, etc. But it weren't because we was miles apart across a 38-game calendar. There were certain aspects where we did wrong, right? Like the season before, the one that's just gone. The tail end of the season was rubbish. This season, we ran it through to the end. We shot ourselves in the foot in December. And even if I kind of put it under the microscope, I look at the North London derby, the first one. I look at Chelsea away. It's almost an impossible job in that you can't really lose any games. Like you can't really drop any points. But so it's like, how critical am I of Arteta? I will say I back Arteta. I like Arteta. I think there's more reasons to keep you than to let you go. But I'm not one of those, Arteta unnecessary outs or those Arteta apologists. And we've got to remember, like, you're here to manage Arsenal Football Club. This isn't Arteta FC. This isn't an apprenticeship where, you learn what you need to learn and you go somewhere else. We need to win something here. And I think Arteta's done so well. He's rebuilt the club. We're envious. Many people are envious of us in so many ways. It's now time to get it through the door. Really, it's like there's been a lot of foreplay. Now needs to be penetration. We need a trophy. Since we won the FA Cup under Mikel Arteta, I think we've been shambolic in that. fair enough. The Premier League, we ran it to the last day of the season. We need to get that over the line. Champions League, I think we're a long way away from it, but I do have a bit of a sour taste in my mouth how we lost to Bayern Munich, because I actually think we equipped ourselves well. We didn't get embarrassed, but we didn't get that over the line. I do think we need to win a trophy, but if there's progression, I can't really say anything. If we regress and there's negative contexts, then naturally there's going to be questions, because money has been spent. Money's been spent. We've got great players. All the metrics show we're improving. And as much as I like Arteta, you can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and say he's the best manager in the Prem. He's many clubs are envious of him. He can do everything, and then not hold him accountable when we don't get over the line, because if we need to just get over the line. So I am quite confident that we'll be up there, but I am quite wary that generally when you've had 2 great seasons or a couple of seasons of progression, there's normally some regression or stagnation. So I know Arteta and the players won't rest on their laurels, but kind of the theme of this live stream, I just feel it's a thing where go out and get that central midfielder. Go out and close the Calafiori deal. Go out and get that left wing. Okay, cool. The striker thing can't happen. But in an ideal world, like you said, you get the Isaacs, you get the Tonys, you get the Watkins, you get the Gyökeres, you get someone that we can sit there and go, yeah, we're good now, really. Because I don't think we've got a strong enough squad. I think we've got players that can come in and do a job. I think the majority of these players can do this thing, but we're so close, but so far. I think it's these minuscule margins that we're up against City that make the world of difference. Like, I know many people will look at the Aston Villa game, the last one at the Emirates, and say that's where the title was won and lost. And I do agree with that, because it came at the wrong time. Obviously, we didn't kill the game in the first half, but I think the damage was done around the time we played in the FA Cup, that December period, where we wasn't even necessarily playing poorly against clubs. We just weren't putting the ball in the back of the net, man. So yeah, man, it's time to deliver now. Like, especially because, United, in my opinion, they're getting their act together. Chelsea at some point will stumble and be all right again. We seem to be the best of the rest after City. So let's try and pip City to a title. And when Pep leaves, because I still think City will be up there, but they won't be running away with things, because I don't know if they have a generational coach. Make sure we've got all our stuff together so that we can just win some stuff, man, because it's been 20 plus long years, man. A big club like Arsenal, we have not won the Champions League. We've been in one final. Like, it's now time to get there. And I know it's a process and stuff, but we're flirting with it, man. Let's not sell ourselves short. So that's what I would say, Dan, man. Really.
Yeah, listen, you're talking facts, bro. You're absolutely talking facts, as far as I'm concerned. I missed one of Max's super chats the other day, and I never forgave myself. I'm not going to do it again, my guy. Trust me. Big up to yourself, man. I'm going to throw them both at you, DG, actually, because the first one's coming your way. Max says, big up, DG. Big time admirer of everything you do on top of your Arsenal content. One of the best Arsenal watch-alongs out there. And then he's a fan of your quote, man, but I'm going to get you to say it because I can't say it. So.
No. All right, big up, Max, man. You're funny, man. That's what we need, humor, man.
Love it, man. This one's coming in as well. Absolute legend. He says, has anyone noticed that we're interested in 4 Spanish players? Yeah, real talk. Williams, Zubamendi, Marino, and Dani Olmo. They're also the reason I sent the first super chat, is because players like Saliba and Saka are going to be watching what our intentions are. Do you know what? He's got a great point here,
That's a point still.
I think Saka, maybe Ødegaard might be willing to stay on a bit longer, maybe Rice. But Saliba is going to be wanted by Real Madrid very, very.
He's going there one day, bro.
Pretty much already. I've kind of accepted one day he might go there, but we're going to have to win to keep him. Otherwise, he's going to go there soon. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're right, man, because right now, respectfully to Arsenal, like, obviously, Saka, Odegaard, Saliba, Martinelli, all of these guys, they're all great players, but they're young and quote unquote young and impressionable. And they, as much as building their careers up, we're building the club back. So that was obviously the carrot that was sold to them. But as they keep up this progression, a bit like when Henry left us when we first walked into the Emirates, they might sit there when they're in their peak and say, you know what, I love Arsenal, but at the end of the day, I don't want to have any regrets in my career if they can't match my sporting ambition. And sometimes you can win a whole bunch of stuff. Ronaldo won everything at Manchester United. It was still his dream to go to Real Madrid. So you are right. He is right in that we've been able to convince them because they've signed new deals. But we need to make sure that we bring in quality and we win stuff, because that's what we're here for. Again, I think a lot of people sit here and cut a lot of excuses. The manager himself, Odegaard himself, they sit there and say, we're proud of so many things we've done last season and the season before, but we want to win. We want to do this. We want to do that. So if they're saying that privately, God knows what they're doing publicly. So yeah, I think that super chat spot on, man. Bang on the money.
Yeah. No, likewise, I do as well. I feel like there's definitely got to be a demand in the fan base for more, in my opinion. I said this last night on the hybrid squad with Sophie. I think the fan base need to demand silverware this season. I really do. And I don't really see that as being out of order or harsh. I think we need to go for all 4 competitions. I think we need to take them seriously. Winning breed confidence, and the first thing you can win is the
Facts.
League Cup. Let's go for it. Why is it that you've got February that you can win a trophy and people are throwing it in the bin? FA Cup, we've won 14 of them. Why not make it 15? You know, we should
Amen.
be taking everything seriously, bro. You know, when a team like Arsenal go 31 seasons without winning a League Cup and 30 without a European trophy, you've got to do something about that with a club
And
the
God
size
knows
of
Premier League, we're 20 plus now. Like,
we're over 20 now. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
well over. There's some Arsenal fans that ain't seen us win a league. That's
it's
upsetting for me.
crazy. That should never be allowed. That should never be the club the size of Arsenal. It should never be, man.
We
So
haven't christened our
got to change
stadium.
that.
Like, it's not new anymore, but we ain't christened it with that. Like, it's time to start making history, man. We've sat down for too long. It's time now, especially because we're actually a very good team again. Like, we're actually good again now.
Facts. Absolute facts, bro. Listen, you're a legend. Love you for coming on, my guy.
Come on,
Make
my
sure
dude.
that people follow you. How can people follow you, bro? What you got
Just,
coming up?
I mean, Dan's been nice enough. Obviously, you just got to go on on the title of the video. Just click my name and you'll find yourselves on my YouTube channel. Obviously, just type in Deluded Gooner on every social media platform and you'll find me. And yeah, Dan, big up yourself, man. It's always great to be here, man. We got to get these going more frequently, broski, man. Hopefully, we sign some players like next time.
Hopefully, we have something to talk about next time. There's an actual done deal as opposed to
exactly, exactly. Like we need to be talking about Calafiori and Timber for an hour and what's going to happen over there, man.
Yeah, you're a legend. Listen, I try to do this every stream. I try to pick my favorite comment, and this one has to be it, man. AFC always. The new Arsenal wake it out today reminds me of the Lynx Africa.
You know what? I saw that as well. It is true. It's horrible, man. I'm probably still gonna buy it, but it is horrible. That's our first miss in a while. It's a miss. It's horrible.
We normally do so well, man. Especially
so well.
Yeah, it's crazy. I see
Proper
that.
Dead.
I see that Lynx Africa, and I thought that is exactly what it reminds me.
Isn't it? Like I can see the Christmas present. Like
you know. But listen,
looks like the box as well. Much less than the ocean. Like
I used to get that every Christmas, so I know it well.
To be fair, I'd want them now. To be fair, but I used to hate that as a little kid.
Legend, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Make sure you do me a favor, people. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go over to Deluded as well. Click the title.
Come on.
Send you straight over. Help him towards 70K. We will get him there, people. And yeah, we're out of here. As always, up the Arsenal. We'll see you next time, people. Take it easy.
Come on. Peace.